Shalom Israel. First, want to start by giving honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'Hashem Yahushua, Ba'Hashem Rachach Wadash, double honors into the elders, apostles, and bishops of GMS Great Millstone, who rule well, teach, and edify. And Shalom unto you, hopeful like Akim and Aquat, and his household of faith. My name is Yeshaya. I'm coming at y'all, bros, through the Spirit to do this. I was gonna get this verse 6. Proverbs 15:6 in the NLT says, "There is a treasure in the house of the godly, but the earnings of the wicked bring trouble." Right? And I was going to say this, bro, because, we understand in this truth that this wisdom is worth more than rubies, than all golds and rubies. Right? This is one of the most beautiful things that a man could possess. Right? And let's get this right here. Wisdom, Solomon 7:7. Realizing that I was only human, I prayed and was given understanding. Right? Because that's really where we first start out with this wisdom. We ask the Lord, The Lord, if any man cometh to me, he has to be, basically had to be sent by the Father, with that spirit. And then from there, once you attain the wisdom of who you are, you have a certain level of understanding that this is the truth, right? And that's when your mentality starts to change. You start begging the intercessor for wisdom, right? You start begging Yahweh Shem Yahushua, because that's what really that word pray goes into, is to beg. Right? You beg on your own behalf to be given the wisdom and knowledge and understanding of this truth, right? The spirit of wisdom came to me, right? So in the sense of King Solomon, man, he prayed to the Lord to have that wisdom to know how to go about things, man. He prayed to the Lord to know how to rule well, right? And the Lord saw that and thought it was beautiful and blessed him with even more than, he actually needed. He had everything, man. Back in the day, they say King Solomon had, what you could translate now to about $2.1 trillion, right, of all wealth. The ability just to get a fresh gold cup and throw it away as if it was a plastic cup, that type of wealth, right? So, and that's what the Lord will do to a man. He'll beautify a brother, right? He'll beautify a brother's spirit, right? And it might not be on a monetary level, man. You see some bros, they got women, they got cars, they got, whatever the fuck. But those bros don't really love it at all. They can give a quarter of a fuck about anything that they have. And that's the spirit of a man of the Lord, bro. The Lord blesses us with something that's far greater than monetary gain, right? What you will get in his truth, bro. Just because you're in his truth doesn't mean that, you're not going to get, good opportunities here and there, right? But primarily why I brought this whole thing out is there's treasure in the house of the godly. What is that treasure, bro? That treasure is this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of Yahweh Shem Yahushua, right? It's a part of that treasure. Right? There's treasure within this truth, man. You see beautiful things. You see a brotherhood. You see your family. You meet your true family in this truth, man. Right? And that's a beautiful thing. Right? A lot of people in the world like to say family's important, but who's your true family? Right? What did Yahweh Shai say unto his mother? He turned around and said, this is my family, right? I mean, there's so many things you discover about yourself as a man, and discover about this world as a spirit, that this truth will show you, man. And part of those treasures, man, you want to understand the fear of the Lord. It says, I regarded her more highly than any throne or crown. Wealth was nothing compared to her. And this is, in this sense of wisdom of Solomon, man, nothing compared to wisdom. All right, that's why you always chase her, man. That's something that you chase. Wisdom, you chase her, and she actually comes to you, man. Anything in this world, the harder you chase it, the farther the faster that motherfucker gonna get. All right? You chase a woman in this world, that bitch gonna be running about 40 miles an hour pretty soon. You know what I mean? But wisdom, man, you chase her, she'll probably throw a couple bricks back your way. Maybe do a little oil spill, right? Maybe even throw a spear at you. But if you dodge all that, hey, man, she gonna turn around and embrace you, man. You're gonna be dancing with wisdom afterwards. And verse 9, precious jewels could not equate to her worth. Besides wisdom, all the golds in the world is a handful of sand, and silver is nothing more than clay. So it's meaningless. I value her more than health and good looks, right? You value this truth more than health and good looks, bro. That's why, you got brothers that bring out that precept in Timothy, bodily exercise profited little. You know, it does give you profit. It keeps you healthy, right? But bro's not out here trying to make fitness videos, right? Because if bro's out here trying to make fitness videos, you know, that don't mean it's important. It's not, you know? The thing that's in the forefront of your mind is Yahweh Shem Yahshai and His truth, man, doing the work of the Lord. All right, and this is to go to say, man, you got to put a lot of that worldly shit behind you, man. You got to understand that that's a demon, a very comfortable demon, too. When you start to get set in your ways and, you know, you dealing with women, you exercising, and, you know, you kind of just like, hold up, bro, I'm too fucking comfortable in the world right now, man. You're going to have a disposition to come back to the Lord, man. You always got to have that in the back of your mind, those spiritual fringes, as the scriptures, you know, say, bearing your fringes, man. Bear your fringes always. All right, but we have them spiritual fringes, bro. Right? More than health and good looks, bro. Exactly. Because, you know, a lot of times in His truth, bro, you'll fall into an ill health. You know, the apostles have gone through it. Our beloved elders and bishops and brothers among everywhere have gone through scenarios of health, right? But then they all had the spirit of, hey, man, if I die, call Allah Yahweh Shem Yahshai. Because it's like, hey, bro, you know, you walked your lot. You did what you got to do, man. You know, as hard as that may say and as hard as it may seem to go for some brothers, and yeah, it's what has to happen, man. Yahweh Shem Yahshai calls, and you're going to come at the end of the day, man. So, and ultimately, man, you got to fear the Lord. Right? If you want to keep on doing this and being in this truth and calling the elect and doing the work of Yahweh Shem Yahshai, being a part of that body, right? You got to show up every day. And that's why it says in the scriptures, man, he that contemneth little things shall fall little by little. The little details matter when it comes to being in this truth, man. One thing I like to say, I actually got this from another brother. It was like, you could be low-key losing and not even realize. Small losses add up until it defines you, right? Small losses add up until it defines you. That will soon become your identity, right? Small losses. You know, at one point you might not have been a drinker, but then, you know, the fucking alcohol demon hopped on you night after night, and all of a sudden, you now identify as a fucking alcoholic, you know? But then you're like, hold up, I'm not even a drinker for real. Well, your fucking actions say something different. You might say that, I'm a real studious brother, but then you study less and less and less until you can hardly be considered a studious brother. Things like that you have to watch for, because, that's the way Satan likes to do some brothers, man. Satan ain't blunt all the time. Sometimes he likes to do some subtle shit because he's a bitch. So like, yeah, I digress, but, Satan, he's a fucking asshole, man. Satan does exactly what he's supposed to do on the left-hand side, and he does it very precisely, and he does it very well because the Lord instructs him to do it. Think about Job. Hast thou considered my prophet Job? And Satan, man, he already knew what he was ready to do, and he took everything from him. But guess what? Guess what Job did? He withstood. He continued to praise the name of Yahweh Shem Yahshai. He sinned not with his lips, right? He stayed steadfast in his actions, right? And Yahweh Shem Yahshai gave him double what he even had in the first place, right? And that's the beauty of us all, man. We understand that at the end of the day, man, if we get through this, we're going to get rewarded. This isn't something that's a rewardless truth, man. We get a reward at the end of this. The scriptures say better is the end of a thing than the beginning, right? So, when you first start out in this truth and you going through these, chastisements, endure them and understand that, hey, man, I'm really just trying to reach the end right now, because no chastening is good, is pleasant for in the moment, as the scriptures say, roughly paraphrasing, right? You're going to go through some stuff, but Yahweh Shem Yahshai may give you the spirit to endure it through all things, right? And pray to the Lord that you don't bug out, hoping that you have those tender mercies. Right, and reading on, hers is a brightness that never grows dim, and I prefer it to any other light. And that's what we seek after, man. Well, right now we're walking through the valley of the shadow of death, pursuing the Psalms 23, which is America, Babylon the Great. And as well as the thought process of America, Babylon the Great. This whole world has been corrupt by the whore, man. So with that being said, we live in a very sinful world right now. Even the brothers that are scattered abroad, they're scattered abroad in places that are just so fucked up. And ultimately, bro, this fucking, Babylon the Great, fucking America, it's so wicked. Its ideologies is spread throughout the whole world, man. The nations have drank of her wine, But Reading on, it says, when wisdom came to me, all good things came with her. She brought me untold riches, right? So you get riches not only monetarily, but you get riches in its truth. And that's really the riches that you seek for. You know, those monetary things, they kind of just help you balance, making sure your bills paid. You got woman, you got yon, whatever the fuck. But it's always on the back burner. Your forefront is the fact that you get untold riches. And in some of those untold riches, bro, think about it like this. This truth is not given to every man, right? Many are called, few are chosen. So even the men that are called, not all of them are chosen. The 144,000, if you look it up in the chat GBT, it's like 0.0001 or something like that. Let's just look it up real quick. I got acting like I can't look it up. Right? What percentage is 144,000 to 8 billion? That's 0.00018%. Those are going to be the men that receive this truth, understand it, and follow Yahweh Shem Yahushua to the very end, right? Rejecting the MOTB, constantly enduring through all days and staying within sound doctrine. And you find that sound doctrine at GMS and its affiliates, right? This is the small percentage, and that's the untold riches, bro. The rest of the world can't comprehend these riches. The rest of the world can't take these in because they are literally not fucking allowed. Yahweh Shem Yahushua will not allow them to have that. You got those motherfuckers that believe in partiality. I only believe in the New Testament. You're never going to have the full loaf, man. You got people that are stuck within the false prophet. The scriptures talk about this Roman Catholic Church. Right? A lot of people celebrating Easter today, man. Talking about JC's risen. Man, that name Jesus, man, goes into earth pig. It's not even biblically correct. That's Latin for earth pig. Jesus, earth pig. But then you say that to an average Christian, I'm like, what are you talking about? There's no way. What? Man, if you talk to some of these fucking low-level Christians, bro, they think that Christ is Yahushua's last name. They think that Christ is JC's last name. They think it's a first and last name. That's how low-level these people are, man. So it's a blessing to have this truth, man, these untold riches. Because Yahweh Shem Yahushua gives it to those that wisdom comes upon. And the Lord will deliver wisdom exactly to who he deems fit. So that's why you need to give diligence and make that calling and election sure. That's why you need to study to show thyself approved. That's why you need to strive. That's why you need to Salakia. Prove thy soul in this life, as the scriptures say, man. Prove thy soul, bro. Show thyself a man. This is what you have to do. Show what you're made of, bro. So that Yahweh Shem Yahushua may bless you by his tender mercies. Because, the Lord don't owe nothing to any man. The Lord could raise up rocks to do this, man. But I was happy with them because wisdom had brought them to me. I did not realize before that she was the source of these things. I was sincere in learning from her. And now I am glad to share what I have learned. Because that's what we're supposed to do. Eat this loaf and then teach, man. No one can ever exhaust the treasure of wisdom. Use those treasures. You are Yahweh Shem Yahushua's friends. Because, the elect are Yahushua's friends. You are my friends, as the scriptures say. He approves of what you learn from her. I pray to Yahweh Shem Yahushua that my thoughts may be worthy what I have learned and that I may speak according to his will. He is wisdom's guide. Yahweh Shem Yahushua is wisdom's guide. Like we were saying, bro, the Lord, directs wisdom. He gives correction to those who are wise, right? Because the Lord gives chastisements to those he loves, man. If you're not chastened, then you are bastards. We are under his power and authority, man, because, we're no longer under the shackles of sin, but rather under the bondage of Yahweh Shai Mashiach, wa Yahweh. Right? We're under that bondage, the bondage of life, really. It says all of our understanding, we ourselves, our words, our understanding and skills, it is he who give me true knowledge, because the Lord gives us gifts, right? Every brother has a different gift, a different portion, and a different position in the body. me true knowledge of the force of nature, what the world is made of, how the elements behave, how the calendar is determined by the moments of the sun, the changing of the seasons, the constellations, the cycles, and the years. He taught me about the nature of living creatures, the behavior of wild animals, the force of winds, the reasoning of powers of human beings, the different kinds of plants, the use of their roots and as medicine. I learned these things that were well knowing in all things that we have never been known before. We know things that are well known and things that have never been known before, because Yahweh Shem Yahushua shows us, man, to have that sound doctrine, you know. And it's a blessing that we have men, like beginning with the elder apostles of Har on down, who have labored greatly, man, and men before him as well. This truth coming back after those 3 years, that 350 years, or those 3 days, translating that 350 years period from around 1650 to around 1969, when the truth started to go out, right? Think about that. The men that have labored before you, and these men, Apostle Gabar used to walk like 4 hours to get to camp. And camp was like 10 hours. And they used to do it like 3-4 days a week. If you do the math, bro, Apostle Har been on the highways and hedges over, a few thousand times. That doesn't even include the marathon breakdowns, the marathon running breakdowns. And this is YouTube, when you couldn't even upload a big video at one time, a live stream at one time. You had to upload it one by one. That's why you got them 10-minute videos, and it's like 30 of them, 30 10-minute videos, Man, these beautiful, blessed, amazing Akim, who we consider our elders and apostles before us, have labored greatly by been given the spirit from Yahweh Shem Yahushai, to understand this truth. And now you here, whether you're a young brother or older brother, man, you riding off that back of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. This is a gift. Treat it as such, man. This isn't a side piece, man. This isn't something that's going to be, on your back burner. This is your fucking purpose, man. Treat it as though, right? Because wisdom, who gives shape to everything that exists, was my teacher. Right? I prayed his lesson was edifying. I'm going to last to give all honor, praise, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Chakwadash, Shalom, and Galak to Yahweh, and Akwas.